Hi, this is Long Vo, and today I'm analyzing a live game with my brother, Bao Vo. Today is June the 17th, 2012, and it's Father's Day. I'm playing black, and my brother is playing white. He's not rated, but if I was to rate him, I would rate him at 1700. So he begins with knight to f3. And since he's not taking control of the center, I went to d5, g3, getting ready to fianchetto his bishop. So now I go knight to c6. So I'm putting pressure on the e5 square here with the intention of pushing my pawns to e5 eventually. So he fianchettos bishop to g2, e5, and so the idea is to push even further and really create this a strong barricade against the light squared bishop. So he counters with d3, and I exert even more pressure, f5. So when I see this formation here with a fianchettoed bishop here, I do expect my opponent to castle kingside, and the idea here is to really break that strong defense by pushing some pawns and exerting a lot of pressure with my minor pieces as well. So he castles kingside, and then knight to f6. So I didn't want to play this immediately because I thought I should support the e4 square even more. So we have three attackers here, and he only has one defender. So he goes c3, opening the diagonal for his queen. So e4. So right now I'm not developing that much with the minor pieces, and it's really about exerting a lot of pressure in the center, and also later on I would support the center with the minor pieces. So d takes e, and I took with f, so f takes e, because I didn't want him to exchange queens, and then I would be forced to have a knight in a bad position or to lose the ability to castle. So his knight is under attack, so he goes knight to d4. So now when my knight, the knight attacks the other knight, I prefer to continue developing versus taking, because then I'm losing a temple. But if he takes, then it does double up my pawns, but I think development at this point is more important, and I don't really care about the queen side. It's all about attacking the king side right now. So bishop to d6, exerting pressure on the g3 pawn. So knight takes c6. So I was okay with that move because he started off here and spent one move, two move, three move. Okay, so to me that's this knight here was better placed than my knight. So I think I'm happy with that, but in compensation for him, he doubles up my pawn. But I don't have the intention of going to an end game here, so I'm trying to finish the game in the middle game. So he goes pawn to f4. So I don't want to take with en passant, because then it can open up his f file here, and then once he retreats, then he can launch an attack. Okay, so I let him have that move, and I decided to attack with my knight instead. So knight to g4, with the idea of just annoying him by staying here, and I'm hoping that he goes pawn to h3, trying to kick the knight away. Then I would reply with pawn to h5, sacrificing the knight, and if he takes, knight take, then I have this open h file here, hoping that I could really attack on the king side. So perhaps later I could move the queen here, and then look for some type of strong check over there. Also, I had the idea of, so if he didn't play that, my next move would have been bishop to c5, delivering check, and then afterwards going knight to e3 with the support of the bishop, and so I'm going to be forking the queen and the rook. And if he takes, then I take back and I'm up a piece. So he sees that and he goes e3. So now the plan doesn't work anymore. But I still want to exert pressure and x-ray the king, pinning the e pawn. So he defends with rook to e1. Now, because the pawn here is pinned, my idea is to advance the g pawn, hoping for an exchange, and then I could develop the queen with a temple. And if not, then once I take, and he's forced to take back, then I have an open g file against the king. So now he starts to attack on the queen side with a4. Then I take, so g takes f. So he's forced to take with the g pawn. So now I'm happy with this open file here. Queen to h4, threatening checkmate. Well, not checkmate, but a really strong check, putting a lot of pressure. So he goes h3, trying to defend his pawn, also trying to kick my knight away. So I reply with check, so queen to f2, and he goes king to h1, and now I have 3 attackers on this pawn, and he only has 2 defenders. So this is a good opportunity for me to take with the knight. So knight takes e3, threatening checkmate here. So he has to take. So bishop takes e3, bishop takes e3. So I'm up a pawn with a lot of pressure on the king side, and plus this pawn here is hanging. So now he counterattacks with a queen to h5, and I decided to go to f8. You know, just finding a spot where he couldn't checkmate me, not checkmate me, but a spot where he couldn't deliver check anymore. So, because if he went here, then I have the bishop. So there's no such position right now, right, that can escape all the checks. So he goes to queen h6, and then he offers a draw, and he goes, well, you know, you can just move back and forth, and that's, you know, I'll keep doing that, right? So so I didn't want to draw, so I went king to e7. So then he looks at me and he goes, you realize that you're giving away your rook, right? And I said, yeah, that's fine, because if he well, anyways, he does check me here, queen to g7, and I go king to d6 with the idea of trying to escape behind my pawns. And I wasn't worried about him taking the rook, because if he does, then he's in big trouble, right? So check, and then it's checkmate. So he goes queen to f6, check. So I continue running. So king to c5, and so he gains a couple of tempos here with pawn to b4 check, and I didn't want to go into his territory because I didn't want to give him that temple with the knight, developing his knight and connecting his rook. So then my whole attack would be down the drain. So I decided to retreat to b6. He goes a5 check, and same thing. I don't want to go back up here because then the knight develops with temple connecting the rooks. So I retreat to b7. So now he attacks my queen with rook to f1, then queen goes to g3, still exerting a lot of pressure on the king side. Okay, so remember I have this open file here. So now he goes a6 check, and at this point I knew I had to stay connected to this pawn, because if I go down then I lose the pawn. So and plus he's in a really active position, so I decided to move king to b6, maintaining that connection, and he pushes with b5, knowing that my c pawn is pinned, and if I take with the king, then this becomes an open file for him, right? So then he could counterattack. So I wanted to keep it closed. So I go bishop to d7, connecting my rooks, which is important, and also supporting the c pawn, the c6 pawn. Now he develops his knight, connecting his rooks. I think at this point is a little bit too late. So I'm not worried about any check threats because I have this pawn here. And he can attack my bishop if he wants, but then I don't plan to give him that chance. So I go rook to g8, exerting pressure, threatening checkmate. So his rook goes to a2, defending the bishop. So I really like this next move here, rook to g6. So the idea of eventually doubling the rooks, but also unpinning this pawn here. So if he obviously he moves his queen away, but then I'm able to have much less pressure on my king side, because at this point the king doesn't really and when he goes here he's really blocking my last square for the king to escape, right? So there's a lot of pressure here, and this could have been a checkmate if this pawn wasn't there. So I'm not worried about the knight at this point. Now he's threatening my bishop, so I exchange. I take bishop takes h3, knowing that if he takes here, then it's checkmate. So he's in trouble. So his last desperate move is knight to c4 check, d takes c4, and then queen takes e4. So I didn't even see that move, but that's a good move from him, defending the bishop here. So now I double the rooks, exerting even more pressure with the idea of taking with the bishop, so then he would have no choice but to take, and then eventually I could deliver checkmate. So he goes bishop to f3. So I want to exchange bishops anyways, so bishop to g2. So he takes with bishop to g2, but the idea here was not really to take the bishop, but to open up the h file here for the rooks. Okay, so now it's at this point he resigned, but so I went to rook h6, and it would have been forced here. So bishop to h3, then it's rook to h3 check, and no choice, rook to h2 to defend, and then it's checkmate.